Hi everyone, it's Nick. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Okay, in today's video, we are going to be talking about interior design trends we are leaving in 2024. These are those trends that have been around for a few years that we loved or hated, but they're just, you know, they came, they served their purpose. We said, thank you very much, trends, and now we're gonna leave them behind in 2024 and onwards and upwards to 2025. Now, you know, every time I do a trend video, there's always people in the comment section that go, but I don't really like trends, to which I say, I don't know why you click on videos for things that you don't like. I don't really get that for you. I think you should click on videos that are more important. It's like when you click on like a best, you know, you click on a recipe for lasagna and then the person says, but I'm a vegan. And you're like, well, then don't click on lasagna recipes, babe, because it's just not for you. And so that's how I feel about that. And now let's talk about some trends and let's trash talk here for a little bit and let's get going. Okay, but one trend that we will definitely not be leaving behind in 2024 is working for yourself. I have been an entrepreneur now for oh God, a dozen years, and I have worked with Shopify. I've been a Shopify customer for over a dozen years, and they are the sponsor of today's video, I am proud to say. Being your own boss, being self-employed or being an entrepreneur is an incredibly rewarding experience, but you do have to wear a lot of hats. Like I know you might think that I just sit here and talk to a camera all day, but no, I am bookkeeper, accountant, I'm doing sales, I'm doing HR for my one employee, and I will say that Shopify as a platform, if you're thinking of doing something in the commerce space, makes your life so much easier and is honestly why I've stuck with them in all sorts of businesses that I've had along the way. Shopify also has a lot of really amazing tools, like they have Shopify Collabs, for example, which is a wonderful tool that helps you sort of connect with influencer and creators like me so that you can actually be able to work with us on your different campaigns. So if you start your own business and you want to work with influencers, Shopify's got it all set up for you to make it really easy to get in touch with them. So much easier than trying to figure all that stuff out yourself. So if you want to get started on Shopify, please do go click on the link that I have in my description there. Thank you, Shopify, for sponsoring this video and for producing an amazing product that I have used for well over a decade now. Now let's get back to the rest of the video. Okay, first up on my list is gonna be extreme maximalism. Now, I feel vindicated for this one because I have called this one out since it came out because I think when Grand Millennial was a thing, 2022, oh, it was a confusing time. Was the pandemic over? Was it not over? Where were we? You know what I mean? Like it was confusing and people were obviously channeling that confusion into their home decor. Enter Grand Millennial, also extreme maximalism. These spaces were everywhere. We were told it was pattern on pattern. There was cheater print with some plaid over here and they were doing polka dots over here. We were doing striped wallpaper on the walls and everybody was going nuts. And I get it. The Scandi spaces, the like all like minimalist spaces were looking a little bit, you know, psych hospital, and I get it. And so we were like, let's have some fun. And then we did, and then we went overboard. So the maximalism has been sort of around, but I'm talking about like the extreme stuff. Again, it's the crazy patterns, crazy shapes, crazy everything, cluttered everything. I called out Grand Millennial originally because I said I don't think it's a trend. I thought it was like two girls in Brooklyn that made this up, and they got somehow, I don't know who did, Architectural Digest or Dwell magazine picked up the article and decided that these are tastemakers, let's like talk about it. And I was like, no one's doing this in their house. I called it and I was like, I don't think anybody's doing this in their house. It's the trend that never was. I think now though, we have seen more extreme maximalist spaces, but I think it's now finally time to say they're done. I think now even everybody is now, even the people that liked them are saying, let's tone it down. They were a little busy, you know, they were a lot. And it's fun, depends on your opinion. It's fun to look at for maybe 5 minutes, but to live in? No. This is too much. It's overstimulating. It's overwhelming. You know, we come home to a certain degree. I mean, homes can be different things for different things. They could be places to entertain. It could be places to relax. It could be a place to like raise your kids and have them play in the living room, whatever. Homes do lots of things. They're multi-purpose, but I think generally people like to be comfortable in their home. I think that's pretty universal no matter what you're doing. These were never comfortable because they were overstuffed. There was way too much color, way too much contrast, too much happening, and it was overwhelming to the senses. And so like what I predicted, and I'm not always right, I often am, but I'm not always right. And in fact, later on in this video, at the end, my last one here, one of my last points is actually where I think I might have been wrong. But on this one, I was right and I feel vindicated. So thank you. Stay in 2024, we're done with you. Okay, next up on my list is gonna be white and cream boucle. So here's the thing, I've actually softened. I'm just gonna say it. I've kind of softened my stance towards white and cream boucle. When it came out, a lot of people loved it and it was very popular and it was everywhere. You couldn't go into a showroom. Like CB2, Crate and Barrel, like it was just, every designer was just putting boucle in everywhere. And I think that it was like that Gwyneth chair from CB2. I swear they've been pumping those things out like nobody's business over there at CB2. Just everywhere you just see that chair in boucle. And I've seen it in so many different designer projects. We see it in so many people's homes and it's everywhere. And I actually didn't like it. I think I compared it originally to like terry cloth towels. And it was just, you know, I make myself laugh from 3 years ago. But no, good one, Nick. It was a lot. It was a lot, and it was everywhere, and it was overdone. And I personally thought, my own opinion, was that it wasn't practical for most people. Because I think most people, you know, they're looking for performance fabrics because they want to live in their homes and actually like have pets and spill drinks and eat food and have kids and things. And some of these fabrics are just a little too delicate. And I thought that Boucle sort of fit in that criteria. And therefore it was going to be one that started out with the elites, and then like the so-called elites, and then like the Gwyneth Paltrows. And then it sort of moves down in, and then before you know it, you know, you see a Boucle, which is really just like a polyester Sherpa fabric or something at Walmart. And it just sort of moves down, and that's kind of the trend cycle. And so I knew that was gonna kind of where that was headed. Now, I say I softened my opinion because I actually don't necessarily hate it as much as I think I originally did. I think it's because I will say it has a purpose, because I think that in light of neutral spaces, which I love neutrals too. Look at my back, I don't have a little ton of color, okay? I like color a little bit more than I used to, but I do like color sometimes, and like, I love a neutral space, I love a colorful space. But a lot of these neutral spaces, they need some texture in order to make them interesting. Otherwise they just read as really flat. And that's where cream Boucle, I think, has been quite popular and served its purpose. But as we're seeing a lot more color come in, then you know what, there's lots of different interesting ways that you can make your space feel beautiful using things like color that you don't necessarily need this slightly impractical fabric in your home. So it's definitely not as popular as it was, as I predicted. Although if you have a cream Boucle sofa, or you have a bench or a side chair or something in Boucle, don't fret. It's not bad. It's not gonna look completely dated, but just not gonna be as popular, I think, going forward. I think we've hit peak Boucle, and we're coming down the other side. Okay, next up on my list of interior design trends we're leaving behind in 2024 is gonna be Blobby Tables. Now this one I cannot stand, so this one works for me. I get it, we all love organic shapes. We love organic materials, and it's been really popular. And so when I say organic shapes, I mean like nature doesn't work in straight lines, right? She's not like, that's not really her style. Picture a river, right? It flows where it wants to. And that's kind of the inspiration that you see for a lot of these blobby dining tables and blobby coffee tables that I see everywhere. And they're all over the place. And I never liked these. I do think that there is some place for organic shapes. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I would say there might be a place for them. I don't think that place is right smack dab in the center of your coffee table. I don't like them. I don't like them. I don't like the kidney beans. I don't like the ones that look like their 9-year-old did a craft project and sort of made one out of paper mache, which is what some of these ones look like, even though they're not. These are the resin tables that are very expensive, but look like a DIY, but they are not. They are full retail. I don't love those either. And I just don't think that it's a really great shape. I do think that it can be fun to mix up some interesting shapes in spaces, and that might make sense for some use cases in some people's homes, just to mix up some of those curves and straight edges and straight lines. And I think that's where people had fun with them. But I think in the end, they just got really tired and boring, and now we're sort of done with them, which is fine because it's just not a particularly timeless shape. And so it ran its course, and now it's time to say goodbye, which I'm happy about because I think it was never a good look in my humble opinion. So I've never really liked these. So I'm okay with this one leaving us behind. Thank you, Blobby Tables. It was fun while it lasted, but you're staying in 2024. Okay, and then next up, this is reading as Nick was right for the last 4 years list, but it's not, because I do get one wrong, I think, which actually something I liked that I do think is we're leaving behind. But the next one, which I was right about, I was right about, I'm not gonna lie to you, is going to have to be the like blobby, bubbly sort of bubble couches and bubble sofas and bubble chairs. So the Mario Bellini sofa, for example, or any of these sort of really squishy, bubbly, bubble wrap sort of sofas that you see all over the place. They were very, I think this was the trend that was a reaction to the also very boring, plain, simple, sort of mid-century modern couch that was super popular in the sort of late 2010s, right? So I think a lot of tastemakers, I can't believe I'm using that word twice in a video. Oh God, I would click away from me if I was you, just on that alone. But you know what I mean? Like people, the designers and stuff, I think were like, hey, we're bored with the mid-century modern sofa. Like we've seen it, Article, I love you, but you've come up with the same sofa like 1,000 times, and it has slightly different forms, but really it's the same sofa. And I get it, it's a sofa. Like how many ways can you do a sofa? Aha, turns out you can do other ones. And we sort of threw back to some 70s, and we started to do some really sort of weird, quirky stuff that fit into postmodern spaces. And it was like, yes, enter the bubble sofa, the bubble chairs. And we saw those sort of all over the place, and they have been very trendy and very popular. Ultimately though, because of their very trendiness, they were always sort of destined to never be as popular. Now I think what was really outrageously cool cool to have like a Mario Bellini sofa, especially if you like snagged a real one from like from Italia or whatever. So it was like, what is that, like from the 70s, whatever, fantastic. But then then came the dupes, right? And the dupes became really, really popular, and we saw people, influencers, having their sort of beautiful cream spaces, and then they had their big cream Camalendiola, whatever, the Bellini sofa in the center of the room, and it was like, oh, look at this, aren't I so interesting? Because I don't have that plain old Scandi sofa from Article that everybody else had, or the same like millennial emerald green sofa from West Elm, right? Which, you know, was again really popular. So it was a way to sort of mark that you were different and unique and quirky and weird, and it was fun and it was different, and that was 2021. But now it's impractical and uncomfortable, and it's not a sofa that you can actually lie on, and it just kind of looks overdone and looks a little bit locked in that very particular time, because it's such a distinct look and was so incredibly popular and so incredibly trendy, and just as things, what goes up must come down, and so those sofas are just not as popular as they used to be. But if you have one and you really enjoy it, then keep it up. And if you have one from the 1970s, then obviously if you've been rocking one since the 70s, good for you. I think there's probably about 3 of you in the entire world that have actually had a Mario Bellini sofa from the 70s sitting in your living room this whole time. The rest of you jumped on the 2021 bandwagon. Congratulations. But, you know, maybe it's time to move on and see what's next in the world of sofas. I don't know, what's the next it sofa? We'll find out. That's probably the Togo. No, that's been around for a while. I'm ready to take it. That'll be on my next year's list, because that's almost time to go as well. And the next one on my list, which is something that I was a little bit wrong about, is the slatted wood accent walls. I'm not gonna lie to you, I kind of still like these. I like these, but I like them in a very specific purpose, and I want to explain. So here's where we went wrong. So I personally believe that I love sort of texture on walls. You can't see, because like, I plan on eventually, like I'm moving into a new house eventually, so I'm not doing anything with my walls. Some people are asking like, are you gonna put moldings up? Nah, because I'm not gonna worry about it, because I'm gonna change the house soon. So anyway, but I do love moldings. I love like chair rails, I love panel moldings, I love crown moldings, I like baseboards, I like wallpaper, I like lots of different things that you can do with walls. I have an entire video just about walls. You should go check that out. You know what I mean? Like, I love walls because it's the backdrop to the space. It makes the space look a lot more interesting. You can take all the best furniture, shove it in a room, but like one that has really amazing, cool wall treatments is just next level compared to the one that doesn't. It's just, walls make a big difference. Now, the slatted wood accent wall, where did this one come from and why was it so popular? And do I still love it? And why is it in the past? I think the problem with this one was that it was shoehorned into spaces that it ought not to be. This originally came from sort of a Japanese aesthetic. This came from Japanese design, also used in the Japandi, which is the combination of Japanese and Scandi spaces, which of course Japandi was very, very popular and is still very popular in sort of the early sort of 20s, right? We've seen that in the last few years, a lot of Japandi cool spaces, and they read as very neutral, lots of organic shapes, lots of natural materials. I have an entire video on Japandi, by the way, from like forever ago. Go check that one out. And if you want to kind of know more. But Japandi, really beautiful style. And of course it incorporates a lot of really interesting features that we saw, like the earth tones that you see in Japanese spaces, some of the darker wood tones that you see, wabi-sabi elements that are brought in, right? And one of the things that is brought in a lot is these wood slat walls, right? So really interesting slatted wood dividers or wood paneling to be put on walls. I think what happened was that a lot of people thought, oh, this is really cool. It can go in any old space. And I just think that this one reads as very style specific. And so what happened is when everybody threw them in sort of a transitional space, a modern space, something that reads as really maybe even, dare I say, farmhouse, it started getting kind of slapped together and put in every space that you could possibly think of. And it just didn't work. Like, it didn't work for traditional spaces. It doesn't really work necessarily with some of the other stuff that I think people were doing in their homes. So the slatted wood accent wall, which I have been talking about for a while because I remember doing videos about it years back, talking about how it was a trend that I really liked. And I do really love them. I think they look really gorgeous in the right space. They became really trendy and really popular. Maybe I don't know, maybe I played my own small little hand in that, I'm not sure, but they are really popular, and I think they just didn't work because it didn't fit with the styles that people were putting them in, and now they just look really silly. The other thing I want to mention with the slatted wood accent wall, which is true for lots of different accent pieces, I don't know where people got the memo on this one, but they decided to only ever do like half the wall. Like, it was like, the thing is if you're gonna do a wall treatment like that, it needs to be in kind of the dedicated space or within like a section. Like, if you're gonna do a nook, for example, in a closet, or you're gonna do a clophis, I hate that word, but if you're gonna do, or whatever, if you're gonna do something behind the headboard, for example, in a bedroom, or you should do the whole wall. You know, if you're gonna do it behind the media console or something like that, like you should do the whole wall. Like, I don't know where people got halfway and decided to stop. Maybe they ran out of material. I don't know. Maybe they went down to Home Depot. They got the little 2x4s or whatever. They nailed them up on the wall, realized, crap, I didn't have enough. And then they just couldn't be bothered to go back to Lowe's or Home Depot. I don't know. But they only did half the wall. And just like when you tile halfway and then stop, or wallpaper halfway and then stop, it just doesn't make sense. So these got really tired and really like it became the shiplap of 2022. Do you know what I mean? Like that's where we kind of, I think, are at with the wooded slats. Now, I still think they look cool. I think they look cool in a very particular space that fits that design aesthetic. Like if you have a Japandi space or you have an organic modern space, I think it can work there for sure. But I'd be careful with these ones. And again, be really deliberate on when you're putting that wall treatment in, and actually be mindful of putting it in the whole wall. Don't just go halfway. I don't know why people do that. Okay, next up, and this is gonna be a three-fer. It's gonna be like Scallops, Squiggles, and Ruffles. Like there's just so many of them. Like it's just been the little scallop design that you're seeing kind of all over the place, or the little everything ruffled, like little skirted everything. I think we're tired of it. The scalloped edges, which is like this, and then you've got the like, just they're everywhere. And like sometimes edges can just be flush, or we can do lots of interesting, for example, countertop edge profiles that you can do that are also really beautiful. You don't necessarily have to just use a scalloped edge on everything all the time, full time, never fail. You can change it up. You can try new things. There's lots of different ones out there. Seek inspiration, talk to your fabricator. Like there's lots of different cool things that you can do with edge profiles and things without necessarily having to make everything scallopy and ruffly and fluted. And this is all part of that, right? This is all part of that story. Again, I think there are elements of these that actually are kind of quite timeless, to be honest, right? I'm not gonna say that all ruffles are bad and that it's never appropriate to have a ruffle. If you like them, keep them in your home, that's fine. Elements of this feel quite timeless. And I think if it's done, like for example, like I said, like you had like a sofa and you have like a skirted edge or something in a bedroom, same thing, fine. Some of those things I think can be timeless. Some of this stuff just feels incredibly trendy, and especially some of the squiggly stuff just is really that Gen Z postmodern, why have a candlestick that is straight when you can have one that is squiggly and wiggly? And for that I say, what was wrong with the straight one? Or have fun and be playful and creative in different ways, but not everything has to be a squiggle. And there was just so many squiggles everywhere. I blame the Gen Zs. I'm sorry, I blame you. There's about 7 of you, I think, that watch my channel. I'm sorry, I blame you for all of this. I personally think that they're just overdone. They're just overdone. Maybe they were fun for 5 minutes when the first person did them. Maybe it was those 2 Grand Millennial women in Brooklyn that started this. I don't know, since they're such tastemakers, third time. But for me, they're a little overdone and I don't care for it. So these ones we're leaving behind in 2024. This one might be wishful thinking on my part, but I think we're leaving it behind. And I think we're moving on to more interesting things. Countertop edge profiles, different ways to do a candlestick. And I don't know what Home Outfitters is gonna do because they only do squiggles and wiggles at this point. So they're gonna have to figure it out because they need a new lineup for 2025, because I'm declaring this one left in 2024. Okay, so that's it for me for today, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I'm going to link here to my 2025 interior design predictions. So if you believe what I believe and that these things are all gonna be left in 2024, then, maybe give this video a go and you can see what's coming up in 2025. See if there's something there that you like that maybe I'll hate on next year. So I hope you enjoyed that video and I will see you all in the next one. Thanks, bye.